One important difference between video games and films is the setting, the locations where events unfold. On film, the setting is usually or oftentimes just a backdrop that you can analyze and you can interpret if you really feel up to it. In video games, however, the setting is much more important and it's much more tangible. In many ways, the game world is the number one element to include in our gameplay analysis, and that's today's topic. My name is Martin Holland and you're watching episode 6 of Dissecting the Gameplay. An inspired place to start analysing any video game is by examining the game world. Everybody can chip in and comment on what we can see on the screen. The design of various objects, for instance, but also the design of rooms and areas, and of course also the accompanying camera work that mediates the game world to the player. Before we get completely carried away, we'll start out with something a little more down to earth. We're going to look at the overall style of the game world and its content, that is, all the objects and all the other characters that you can see on screen and interact with. Usually this style clearly underlines the other video game elements, but it also forms the core of the genre and the theme of the game.
It would be a shame to get blood all over my nice new outfit.
Maybe it's a little oversimplified, but we can distinguish between 3 game world styles. Some video games clearly belong to only one style, others balance in the zone between 2 styles. That's why it makes perfect sense to see the transition between the 3 game world styles as free-flowing. But now we're going to look at each of them one at a time. The first style is called photorealism. All the video games that strive for a realistic look will follow this design style. This means that characters in the game look like real people with bodies sculpted in correct proportions. The game world itself looks like a photo with light and shadows behaving realistically. And when characters interact with objects, it has to look authentic. Many real-life sports games, FIFA and PGA Tour, to mention just 2 obvious ones, imitate reality to create empathy and to give the player an opportunity to live out the football dream or golf dream.
Look at the line on this one. Get in the hole.
However, games that take place in a fantasy or science fiction world can also tap into the photorealistic style. In Horizon Zero Dawn, we find both people and robot animals designed with an incredible attention to detail and animated with bodily weight and a sense of gravity. Here, photorealism also creates empathy with the characters, thereby underlining the epic scope of the story. Our main character, Aloy, simply becomes more relatable, with us wanting to both fight for her and protect her against the dangers on her journey. It's almost like she's a real person. One rule of thumb is that a video game which has been designed to look photorealistic will also have realistic game mechanics, which means that the main character probably won't be able to make a double jump into the air. Neither will the main character have other cartoony superpowers. Instead, expect to get exhausted if you run and sprint for too long, and expect to start bleeding and limping if you get wounded. All of this just creates more identification and empathy with the main character.
Crash! Wake up!
The second game world style is called caricature. Here we find all the video games which look cartoony and exaggerated in some way, games that are more expressive and less authentic than the photorealistic games. Here the characters don't look like real people, but caricatures of real people. For example, in the way that body parts and other details have been exaggerated and distorted. So therefore, the caricature is an incredibly broad design style. It can go in so many directions, so the only limit is the developer's imagination.
So this is your world.
Ah, home at last! But there's a tidy way to go yet.
Games in the Japanese anime style are an excellent example of caricature, and so are Castle Crashers and Cuphead. They strive for a different kind of empathy than the photorealistic games. For example, through the use of zany humor and irony to make us smile, if not laugh out loud, when we are playing. In the same way, many platform games have been designed with the main character doing unrealistic things. You might be able to fall from extreme heights without batting an eye. You might lose half of your so-called life without any noticeable difference in performance. When you face the cartoony opponents, there's a good chance you can kill them by simply jumping on their heads, after which they'll just disappear with a puff. Likewise, the story in most platform games is very simple and just as folktale inspired as the game world and the game mechanics. The third and last game world style is called abstract, when a game in no way whatsoever relates to reality, but is designed solely with forms, color and movement. You have an abstract game. Tetris is probably the most famous and most widely distributed abstract video game, which just goes to show that even abstract games can be incredibly engaging. We don't necessarily need to identify with a humanoid main character in a recognizable game world. In Tetris and other abstract games, the gameplay itself is all that matters.
As the water began to rise, Claire vowed to save this little rectangle in as many restarts as it took.
Still, there are not an awful lot of abstract video games out there. They don't appeal as immediately to the same large player group as the photorealistic and caricatured video games, but many games can be categorized on the borders of pure abstraction. For example, the musical shoot-'em-up game Reds Infinite, where the main character and the geometrically shaped opponents appear on screen as explosions of colored dots. In much the same way, the characters and the game world in the moody, David Lynch-inspired Kentucky Route Zero are so minimalistic that they are nearly abstract forms. Here the whole point is that we, the players, have to fill in our own interpretation and understanding of the rather bizarre story. The abstract game world design makes this possible. So examining the game world style and its mixture of different styles can provide a greater understanding of any video game. And it's also an important first step on the road to a full-blown gameplay analysis. My name is Martin Holland and I'll be back in just 1 week to talk more game world, and this time we're going to focus on the level design. That's in 1 week's time in episode 7 of Dissecting the Gameplay. See you in a week and thanks for watching.